Hey, welcome to another episode of the Blackout Tips podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
and we're live on a Tuesday.
Yes.
The last Tuesday of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see from Karen's festive gear.
I should have never started this motherfucking trend because Lord knows I love these motherfucking things that glitter and blink and shit.
But we're in a festive mood.
Yes, we are.
And like all festivities, it's better with guests. And we have a guest today, first time guest that he's ever been on our show. We were just on his show last week. You can check it out on YouTube. I posted the feed. I shared it on our social medias. But he is a stand-up comedian, professional speaker, radio show host, and now host of the Stand Up with Pete Dominick podcast. Pete motherfucking Dominick, what's up, man?
Yeah, Rod and Karen, great to be here. I think I should have been warned about my pacemaker. I'm not sure that strobe light is helping me at all. And any of your other viewers probably should have been told as well.
There you go.
I'm just kidding. Light them up. It's New Year's. It's here.
Blinking.
We're doing everything but getting drunk like CNN, man.
Right?
Pete, man, first of all, we're going to be hanging out with you in April.
Yes.
For a thing called Podjam 3. What is Podjam 3? Can you tell our audience from firsthand experience? Because we've just been telling them what we think it's going to be, but you know.
Yes.
It's a show and an experience. So it's like 2 to 3 day event, depending on how long people want to come. If you want to come and just see the podcast taping, you can do that. But there are just parties. We hang out. There's my friend has an awesome house with an amazing pool and a DJ, and we go and we eat and we drink and we dance, and it's just people hanging out. My goal since COVID, since I left SiriusXM, my corporate media career kind of like ending and starting this own independent thing, was not actually to create community, but it accidentally became that as a result of COVID, because I started having these Zoom hangouts during lockdown. More and more people would come. We created this kind of online community, and we're like, it's going to be weird if we get together in person, right? But we were like, we put our social anxiety and our introversion away, if we had that, and people met up. And the first time was 2 years ago, and it was amazing. And the second time was last year. It was even better in many ways. And this year, inviting you guys, trying to connect our community to your community, the goal being the thing that fights loneliness, which kills people, is every single philosophy, religious or moral or psychological, says that community matters. I'm reading Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning right now, about Holocaust victims and community in the concentration camps. So not to get too dark, but you got to go as dark about it as you can to talk about the importance and the light, which is what we bring. A lot of light like that on Karen's head of people connecting, meeting, and like, I think it's fair to say that they're similar values. They're progressive, I guess, is the easiest way.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of ethnic diversity. There's a lot of age diversity, gender. We got a lot of members of the LGBT community. And then we have like a lot of male models like me.
Oh, nice. Listen, we could always use more 8-pack abs and cum gutters and all that good stuff. We love to see it.
I am here for when you talk about community is very important. And I think for a lot of people, COVID kind of killed community. Because people kind of went inward and they never came back out. You know what I'm saying? Like they never came out to society and to reality and the things around them. So community is great because it allows people to talk. It allows people to open up. It allows them to realize that you actually are not alone. Well, guess what? We all are struggling. We all are going through something. Right. We all are facing difficulties. And so sometimes it's good to realize that you're not alone.
I also think community is what a lot of people are going to have to lean on to get through this era of the Trump administration.
Yes, they are.
Because they have so many of the levers of power right now, and they're passing laws and stuff that the only way around those laws it is for us to help each other, to look past like a law or a rule and be like, I just see you as a person.
Right.
How can I help you get something to eat today?
Today.
Like rather than be like, well, don't worry, in a couple of years it'll be time to vote again. Like that shit's not gonna do it for a lot of people.
No, it's those are all really important points, and I can't say enough about the importance of community and community building, and I can't also say enough about how rewarding it feels to be involved in connecting people with each other. And I think that part of, as you said, Karen, like COVID really killed community in a lot of ways. The internet did. The kind of degradation of religion and churches where people had community did. And there's a lot of different reasons for it. But as you said, it's so important. It's so valuable to your life force. We all have a bag of rocks that we're dragging. And more specifically, when it comes to politics and the political and technological world we're living in, it's important to be like, connect with other people in other parts of the country and the world and be like, hey, man, are you seeing this?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because what I see looks cray-cray in such a way that I can't even believe that it's today. I didn't even know, but it did. And here's the thing. I call it Earth One. We're connecting people who live on Earth One. We don't agree on everything. We have some pretty good arguments, some fun arguments about stupid shit, and some important arguments about important stuff. But we do agree on a certain set of ideas, critical thinking, open-mindedness, expertise, trust, and we communicate in such a, I think, nuanced way that we're not trying to like blow each other up. So we're over here on Earth One saying, are you seeing this? Because it's important that we recognize with the rise of AI and this political narrative and movement that is so hard to wake up and be in it every day, but it's harder to wake up and find people that you know and love that are in it. And so it's a lot of, are you seeing this? Are you okay? Am I, through COVID, through Trump, fascism, through the rise of AI, all the other things that scare us, connecting with other people and being like, hey man, I'm a 50-year-old white guy. I live in the burbs. You're a 43-year-old black woman. You live in Houston. You're a older white woman who lives all over the country. All types of people who all are on Earth One. That's what we're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also something I realized too is when I talked about it killing community, it also created community, but it created a lot of toxic community for people. So it's a lot of people that were looking for community and couldn't find that positive community. So they found a negative community because they wanted a community. Right. Like they wanted a group of
like what happened with QAnon.
Yes, what happened?
Like that could not have happened without the pandemic happening at the same time.
Yes, and so you have a collective of people. It's like, hey, I want to be a part of a community so bad that I will sacrifice my morals. I will sacrifice my humanity. I will do things that I normally would not do to be a part of this community versus taking it and making, like you said, make something more positive out of it, because you're going to end up in a community whether you want to be or not. I'm not trying to be funny. Like, you're going to be in somebody's community. You're either going to be in a community somebody created for you or one that you created for yourself.
Pete,
really good points. Yeah.
What was it like going from like stand up to radio to your own podcast? Because as you said, I think community changes based on like being a stand-up comedian is almost like a lone wolf, right? You don't you have followers and fans that you don't have to create a community if you don't want to. You could be like, man, I just get up here and kill and
tell my joke,
take my ass home. Radio is kind of like a community because you get your callers and stuff, but they can be anywhere and all that stuff, but sometimes you get regulars. But I feel like a podcast, you start having a real community. Like, these are the people that are talking to you every week. These are the people that are listening to you. These are the people that come out to events. So like, has it been different for you at different stages?
I mean, each stage that you mentioned just there is a huge chapter of my life that I could, have fun talking about for a long time. But I think to specifically to answer your question, I think live radio builds community all the way back when I was growing up, when we were growing up. And I worked at SiriusXM, and so I worked with all the Howard Stern show guys. And Artie Lang was Howard Stern's sidekick, and Artie Lang and I were really good friends, and I was Artie Lang's opening act for years. And during that time, I was also hosting my own radio show and then opening for Artie. And I watched the listeners of Howard Stern come up to him, after shows or just on the street. And the way they talked to him, guys, was like they knew him and that he was their friend. And then we learned there's a word for that, a parasocial relationship, where you think you're friends with the show host in this case. And I saw that and I was like, I want something similar. I want to create something similar. What I learned basically was, if you're on the air live the way I was and still am every day, and you share stuff about your personal life, if you're vulnerable on the air, you talk about your struggles, your suffering, you make fun of yourself, it connects you with an audience in a way that nothing else can. The opposite of that is overwhelming bravado and genius and brilliance, which is what so many of the right-wing radio show hosts of my day did and still do. The great one, his brain is on loan from God. Now back to the show. It's like my show was like, Pete's an idiot. Let's do it. Yeah. And my show was interviewing experts to say that, and still is the shortest way to explain it. But it created a community, live radio, old school, terrestrial radio, satellite radio, and I think podcasts are probably create that community even more niche. And I think there's probably a safety element in it where you actually start to get to know people. You see them at virtual hangouts, you meet them at events. And I think there can be, like, I have a deep personal relationship with lots and lots of people who've been listening to my show from SiriusXM to now. I mean, hundreds of friends. I have just an embarrassment of riches of people in my life. And yet, Rod and Karen, I get lonely too.
We all do. We all do. I think also, like with podcasts, you opt in. For our audio listeners, you got to go back to the 20 minute mark. But I think also, like, podcast is such an opt-in format. Mm-hmm.
And you defined it too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You have to want to get it. Like, radio can be passive sometimes. Like, not as much so with Sirius. Like, you gotta pay for that shit, and then you start finding your channels, and then that become like who you fuck with. But like, a lot of stuff is just kind of like, oh, this is on TV. This is what I was listening to. I got in the car. Podcast is like, I want to find your voice. So I feel like that's one of the reasons that the community gets so tight for podcasts.
I mean, for sure. I think it's true, though, still, of a political radio show. It's a specific brand of politics where you have a similar values as that person on the right, on the left, or whatever else, conspiracy, whatever. But you're absolutely right. And I think we could talk about, the pros and cons of that. But for me, it's just been I never thought that because I started as a stand-up comic. I lived my dreams. I did everything I wanted to do in comedy. I really did. And I'm super proud of everything I accomplished in my career in broadcasting, radio, and television. And most importantly, I'm proud of my girls. My wife and I are now separated, but we have an awesome relationship. My girls are 18 and 21. That's what I'm most proud of. But to build a community and to have that be basically my job and to try to maintain and nurture that community, it's really hard because I'm like the HR department. We don't have a lot of problems, but and I try not to get overly invested in them, and I try to keep people connected. I try to create a safe space, keep people connected to reality and to our suffering as we help navigate it with each other, especially as we get older. We're just getting older is the real deal too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How was it when you first got recognized? Because you were watching other people get recognized, but it's completely different when it's you. Because I know it was very different when it was me, when I was kind of out in public and somebody yelled my name, and I had to look at them. I had to go down my mental Rolodex. I was like, okay, I don't know you here. I don't know you here. I don't know you here. I don't know here. Then they say, I know you from the show. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, let's just talk about the racial component of that, which is black people will overwhelmingly black people, because it's not like an Indian guy. Black people in America will stop you and recognize you and pay you really nice compliments, and you can almost see it coming. It's often in an airport. White people will whisper and not bother you. Quote, not bother you. It wouldn't be bothersome for a white person to stop me and react the same way a black person does. But my first, I would get from doing stand-up to a certain extent after shows and stuff like that. But that was but once I started doing CNN every night I was on at 8 p.m. every night live on CNN.
Wow.
And so during and then after that year, I was on TV a lot. But during that year and after that year, for those couple of years, I was getting recognized like everywhere I went. And it was mostly Black folks who would say stuff. And I love that. And I just want to talk about why that is, why I think it is.
I love us too.
I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but white people are more likely like, hey, I think that's the fucking weird guy from CNN. Is that James Carville or Daughtry? Like, it's neither. But Black people were like, hey, man, you're the guy. You're the guy. And I'm like, yes. Hi, what's your name? And then I have a new friend at the airport.
What were you doing on CNN every day at 8?
I did a man on the street segment. I got hired to do like an Andy Rooney commentary piece at the end. That's what they wanted me to do, but I'm not a good writer. So I knew unless I had help, I couldn't write something like that every night that would be worth. But I'm my other skill set is like hosting and talking to people, interviewing people. So I go, well, how about I do a man on the street thing? So literally every morning I went into the streets of several cities in the country. CNN sent me all over the place. And I put a microphone in people's face like I was the original, not the original, sorry. There was a lot of people who did man on the street before me, but I was one of the first people to really do it the way I did it on cable television. It was like 2010. But I did it in a lighthearted way too. We cut it up, we edited it, and then at night, they would air at the end of the show to end the hour on kind of a lighthearted note, asking people in the streets, and it was called Pete on the Street. Let's go to Pete on the Street. And then John King, who was the host of the show, and hates laughing and comedy. He and I would close it live. We would show my man on the street piece, and then he would go back to me, and then I would give my daughters a signal that they can go tonight on live TV. They can go to bed. Daddy loves you. Go to bed. And then I would talk to John, and then they would throw to the 8 p.m. hour.
Man, that's always interesting too, in the mix of comedy and serious stuff. Like I'm a guest on this podcast, Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love it. It's all nerd stuff. I love talking Marvel.
Love it.
Okay, so Howard Bryant is a guest on there sometimes too. Howard Bryant is a very studious, serious, like writer. Like he writes books about sports and race, and and when he's on there, the amount of effort I'm putting into trying to get this motherfucker to laugh is insane. Yeah, it is insane. I take it as a challenge because it is the mix. I'm like, he wants to come in here and be like, listen, the very serious function of Galactus is about racial disparity, and I want to be like, oh man, how big you think his underwear are, whatever, just to see if I can break this man. Did you take that challenge when you were working there?
I used to describe it because we would be live. When you're on the air with someone live, like we are now. Like I think my style, at least, is to throw the ball to you and hope that you see it coming and hit it, like setting you up. I'm often a setup guy. And I also think if you set me up, I better see it, catch it, and do what I need to do with it. To continue the sports metaphor, I'm on live TV with John King, who, God love him, he was real good to me. And he does have a great sense of humor, but he too had that issue where I don't think he ever really wanted to do that segment. He's a serious newsman. I don't think he wanted to report all the things he's reporting and throw to this dum-dum, to be fair. But I would like set him up. I'd throw him the ball. I'm out, via satellite outside, always freezing my ass off. And he's in the studio in DC. I was usually in New York. So I would throw him the ball, guys, and it would just hit him in the chest and bounce off.
That's the worst.
That's the worst.
Hey, what?
No, he getting hit.
Being the correspondent on the street, what is up with that 1 to 4 second fucking delay? How have we not solved that?
Oh, have we not really? I don't know what that, but I could tell you, like, being live on the street, the way that people come up to you is it's a lot worse for women, but it can be really weird and it can make you feel uncomfortable. But it's mostly like when you're live, you're terrified someone's gonna jump into your shot, and it's definitely gotten worse. But one time, you guys, this is true story. You can find the clip. I was live on CNN, and Michael Richards, who played Kramer in Seinfeld, walks up into my live shot. And I go, Michael Richards is here. And then John interviewed him, but I had the earpiece, so I had to repeat the question. But he was like, I don't want any problems, or I forget.
What?
It was
crazy.
a lot of things happened, but that was the craziest one that ever happened. And I also
it's always funny to me with the news because they're like, we're gonna go live on the scene to so and so. And it's always that like, we're live on the scene. I'm like, everything else has been fixed. And we have AI, we have fucking like flyovers. You can send a drone and kill somebody in another country tonight. But we cannot stop the 1 fucking second delay. Well, we can't edit that out in post or nothing. We just got to deal with this delay for the rest of our lives. Oh man, it's fucking crazy.
I don't know who's still got that delay. Who you're noticing? You got to. I mean, it happened. It does happen. But I was just
news.
I was just on with an Australian show earlier, celebrating New Year's Eve with them on an Australian news show, and I was like, I can't believe there's no delay. We have such a strong connection, no delay, all the way to the bottom of the earth and back. And I was also lying to their whole audience that I was in Times Square. I was like, I was just in my backyard.
Where are you located in the United States now?
It's called Rockland County, New York. It's just north of New York City, on the border of New Jersey and on the Hudson River, the beautiful Hudson Valley, New York.
And also, I saw that you used to open for like the Daily Show and stuff too.
Yeah.
What was that like? Is that like hard? Does it get repetitive? Like how's that work?
Oh man, well, I was the audience warm-up comedian for the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and then I did that for about a year, and then Stephen Colbert's show spun off. He was a correspondent, and they spun off the Colbert Report, and I went with Stephen and did that show for 6 years, and then I left for CNN. But I did like 8 years of radio, audience warm-up, TV. But to get there is the interesting part. To get the Daily Show and the Colbert, I also worked on John Oliver's show for 3 years, Last Week Tonight on HBO. So I worked on all those shows. I've always been part of that kind of political comedy world and staff and family. And I created a channel in that image on Sirius XM, politics done by comedians, right, left. I didn't care what you want. I just wanted to try to bring more entertainment to it. But those jobs were the greatest, man. Those were the smartest shows on television, and they were the smartest audiences on television. They were young. They were diverse. They were experimenting in so many different ways. They were just brilliant writing staffs. And I was the fluffer. I was the audience warm-up comedian, and it was an amazing job. The money was amazing, first of all, but it wasn't repetitive because you couldn't be contrived. You couldn't make that audience think that you had done this before. I mean, I did, but it was all improv every night in front of this really smart audience. So it was really challenging. It made me a much better comedian, smarter person. Also made me way more judgmental and sensitive.
when I wrote for Game Theory with Bomani Jones, Sidney Castillo sometimes would warm up the audience, and they'd sometimes bring in comedians to warm up the audience. And it was so funny because like there was all these stand-up comics on staff. There were writers and shit. And they always would be like looking down on the idea of doing the warm up. Like they're like, oh, I gotta fucking do that. And then they go out there and start doing their thing. And I'm just like, no, this like, I don't know why y'all are shitting on this. Not everybody can do this.
No, they
can't. These people don't fucking know you. They're coming to have an experience in this show. They're not even looking forward to you personally. Like you're kind of in the way.
Yes, they're like, I came for something else and I'm getting comedy.
And like between like different segments, you got to come back out there and be like, all right, guys, we're about to do this. Hey, you got
to warm them up. You got to play games because I've attended several of the live tapings, and that's what happens. You have a comedian come out, warm you up, the host comes, they take a break because you're filming, and then the guy be like, hey y'all, we're taking a break. Hey y'all, something happened. It's a delay. Waka 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 waka.
Yeah.
I could, and so could other warm-up comics. We could do a show just about warm-up and the history of it, the different shows. It is really hard. You have to have a certain skill set, certain talent for it. Luckily, I got to the point where I was working on the best shows, had the best guests, the best audiences. That people, tickets were free, but there was always a long wait to get a ticket because the shows were such a big deal. So those audience came to laugh. They were comedy shows, but I worked on shows where the audience did not plan to be there that day. Sometimes they were paid. Sometimes they were homeless. I asked a guy in the audience one time, I'm doing crowd work. That's what you do. And where are you from? He said, outside. I go, why? What brought you here? He said, they said there would be pizza. So, I mean, like, it can be really depressing. It can be really sad. The one moment you talk about when you have to come back out, I usually didn't do that. I usually could convince a production staff that to not. It was so awkward to have to come back out during a break and try something new, and I just couldn't. So, but one time I did have to do that, and this was on a show for the New York Yankees television network in New York, and the episode of the show was called Captains, and they had on panel 4 of the most famous New York athletes ever: Harry Carson, New York Giants; Michael Ruzioni, New York Rangers, U.S. Olympic team that beat Russia; Derek Jeter, Don Mattingly, the Yankees. Okay. I'm backstage with them. These are my boyhood idols, especially the baseball players. And I introduced my dad to Yogi Berra that night. It was an amazing, magical night, but there was a production issue. There's a lighting issue. And they go, Pete, get back out there. So I walk out, and now I'm standing in front of these 4 legends trying to get this audience's attention. Like, why would you want to hear from this guy? They've never heard of me. I'm a monkey. I'm just out there juggling, trying to make. But I'm too smart for that. I'm like, I'm not going to act like I can do anything to distract these people from those legends. So I start to say, I'm going to talk to these guys. Let's do a little Q&A with these guys while, the lights are down or while the tech issue was being fixed. And that's when Don Mattingly, whose poster I had as a 12-year-old, who I went to New York City the first time to see him and sat on the first baseline, whose rookie card I saved up to buy. He said, Don Mattingly, my boyhood idol, yelled to me, hey, Derek, he goes, hey, Jeter doesn't think you're funny.
Shit.
No.
Mattingly yelled to me that another New York legend didn't think I was funny. So these 2 guys are talking about me. I go, oh no, Derek Jeter doesn't think I'm funny. All that matters to me right now is that my boyhood idol just said my other idol doesn't. You're acknowledging that this is.
I know my name,
right? Y'all know I exist.
And then in that moment, I realized what my strategy was going to be, and it was what every comedian does. It doesn't matter who it is. It is time to attack. So I come for Jeter's family. Dude was wearing a yellow suit. I go, I can't believe Derek Jeter is making fun of me. I would never want to say anything that would upset him. Certainly not the fact that he's dressed like a mustard packet. Boom! I'm alpha. I'm the alpha now.
I have the mic. Yeah. Now that's hilarious, man. It's also like such a vulnerable thing to be on the microphone talking in front of people in the first place. And I think, especially in that situation, you kind of get a little bit of a boost if you're a gamer. Like it's like, all right, I got to get up for this. And like, it was so funny watching these, veteran comedians that are at my job be like, oh, fucking the warm up. And then they just fucking turn it on like a muscle.
Yes.
You're just like, what the fuck? You were just back here.
And I was going to ask you that as you've been on live TV, live radio, and all these other different things. What is it that drives you to continue to go? Like, it's a muscle, because I didn't even realize I have a muscle for this. Because for those of you that don't realize, we do Balls Deep, which is our sports show with Justin. And one time Justin told me, he said, you have a switch. I said, what do you mean? He said, we could be casually talking, and he said the second we go live, he said it's just something kind of changes, and all of a sudden I don't even realize I'm doing it. Like, when is it that things became so automatic that you go, okay, I can adjust to anybody?
Well, that's a great question, and a very flattering suggestion that that's a talent that I possess. But I think it is. I think it's survival. I mean, I definitely fashioned myself to be the kind of comedian who could entertain any audience anywhere. So a corporate, gig at an industry event, or, all black people in Harlem, or Jewish, like a synagogue, or like even I used to do this gig every summer, young kids at a synagogue. I'm not Jewish. I didn't know anything about growing up Jewish or being in the synagogue. They had boys on one side, girls on the other side. It was religious. And I just went in there and did an impression of a cat barfing, got my $200 and went home. The point being, I wanted to make money. So I made myself as adaptable, and I love people, all people. So I want to make everybody laugh. I want to entertain everybody. And I also think, like, the reason that why you have that quality, why anybody does, is because when the lights turn on, when you go live in this case, there are people watching. We should be entertaining. We should do our job. Our job is to entertain. I hate these people that are like, I don't want to promote my show. I just want to show up. Like, no, people are there because you have a microphone and there's a camera and you should use all of it, and you should be interesting and entertaining and smart or whatever, or don't waste people's time. So that's the job. The lights go on when you go live. Be good, be interesting, be engaging.
Particularly if you want their money, because it's like, oh, people are paying to be here or paying for whatever this thing is at a later date or whatever.
I hate when we would have, every once in a while we'd have a podcast guest back in the day who was like too cool for school.
Yes.
It's like, dude, you're fucking killing me. Like, what are you doing, man?
You're giving me nothing to work with. And so, not trying to fun, because me and Roger got professionals. If you are a drywall, we will look at each other and act like you ain't in the room.
Yeah, we'll just bounce off each other if it gets that bad. I remember once, as a joke though, this was on purpose. This is when we were still experimenting with what is a podcast. This is 16 years ago. And my brother came on as a joke because we were like, me and him were riffing one day in real life, and we were like, dude, you know what fucking sucks? Rappers who do radio interviews and they just fucking are so vague because they're trying to be cool. I fucking hate. I was like, I love hip hop. I hate a rap interview. Now it's changed over my lifetime because all these motherfuckers got old and they went to therapy and they're all opened up and shit now. You just, they're like, Method Man's talking about depression and shit. But back in the day, it used to be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Know what I mean? And so one time we had
use your words.
We had my brother come on the show and pretend to be this rapper that we just made up the name, like it was like MC No Name.
I remember that years ago.
And the audience got, because we didn't tell the audience it was a skit.
They were so cool.
They got so mad.
It was like, what
is this shit? And I was like,
he sucks.
I was like, we learned 2 lessons today. 1, that was much funnier to me and my brother than it was to everyone else. 2, you gotta let the audience in on the joke, because it's still funny to me, but man, that did not work.
But it's also just like one of the coolest things about working at SiriusXM, almost 15 years, but I hosted a live show there, and at first it was on the comedy channels, then it was on the political channels, then it was on like this hybrid channel. So I had all types of people coming in being guests on the show, and huge big name stars, actors, musicians, comedians, obviously, artists, journalists, politicians, you name it. Anybody who was promoting any book, I got to interview everybody. And so I have a billion stories just about that. But the point that I think is really, relevant, it's like when an actor or a rapper or a musician especially come in and they're not interesting, it's like, yeah, because someone wrote your shit for you.
Yes.
Comedian isn't interesting. That's just sacrosanct. There's no compassion for that guy, because he should be good. He writes his own stuff. He's supposed to be able to do improv and be good in the moment. But I was always so excited when someone came in, whether they were a big name or not, and they could banter, they could play, they knew how to improv. And I just, one quick one, and there's so many. My favorite moment probably ever was the actor Jeffrey Tambor, who was in the Larry Sanders Show and Arrested Development and so many other things. One of the funniest guys ever in the moment. And when you get him, he's a master. So those guys would come in and they didn't know me. I knew them, but they would always test me. Another example would be Norm Macdonald or William Shatner or Bob Saget, like coming in and boom, 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 boom. Kevin Hart, like, I knew him because he's a comic, but like some of these guys, so they would test me. And once they knew I got the game, then we danced.
Right.
The third time Tambor comes in, he knows that I know the rule is comedy. Doesn't matter who gets hurt. That's the rule. Top of the interview, he goes, Pete, I'm glad to see that you're still here. Little surprised. I go, what? Why? I go, why are you saying that, Jeffrey? I mean, right away, he said, he opened the interview. I go, things are going great. I actually just launched this new channel. I spearheaded it. It's going great. Things have not been going better. I go, why are you saying it like that? He goes, no, I'm just surprised. I go, why are you surprised? And he goes, because you're not good.
Off the top rope and start the show.
Top of the opening of the interview, knowing that he had to be there for another 30 minutes, he said, "You're not good." And it was like just this like such a pro move, and it was such a test for me, and so many other people did that same thing right at the top because they didn't They needed to know if they could have fun. They didn't care at that point about what side. They're so famous, this person or that person. Jeff Goldblum's another one. I mean, I could think of, they just come in and they play. And if you play with them, they're happy. And if you don't, by the way, they don't come back.
Yeah, and they've been doing it so often. Some of these people, when they're promoting shit,
I bet your stuff gets boring,
especially those guys who promote books. Because, like, if you guys on this side of the aisle, I know fans, y'all might not know this, but we get like PR releases and shit, and it's like so and so has a book, and they'll even send you like, here's the 10 questions to ask.
Yeah.
And like, so you don't even have to read the book. You just go in and you ask them some basic, like, so the economy, what's going on with that? And it fucking sucks.
I don't think one of the suggested questions is, so the economy, what is up with that?
Yeah. It's like Byron Allen. It's like Byron Allen. It's just like, I know you have a joke about airplanes. Like, so you ever been on an airplane? It's like, where could this possibly go?
And the thing is, whenever Roderick has authors on, he actually reads the books and they're shocked and surprised because he's asking like these very in-depth and deep questions. That's like, oh, you read it?
It does take a lot longer for them to be guests, though.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm going to read the shit. I'm not going to bullshit you, but maybe you got to wait a month to come on the show.
If I actually read your shit.
But, if you give me an advanced copy, hey, it's still gonna line up with when it's time to sell the books, man. But yeah, I do like that stuff, but it's mostly because I hate so many of these generic,
and they all sound the same.
They're just doing the thing. They're holding up the book to the camera and being like, so it's a book about this.
Always try to be different. I always try to make the guest on my show, and that's what I've been doing for years. I mean, I used to do 3 guests a day, 5 days a week. Now I do 1 or 2 a day. But either way, you can see just like some of the books behind me. I have thousands of books whose authors I've had the great privilege to interview, and I love it. And I try to give them as much respect as I can in the prep, but also I try to be different and make sure the audience isn't bored by this subject matter or this guest, because a lot of times the guest is a real good writer, real good journalist, but not a good talker.
No, they're not. I've heard terrible interviews. Like, your writing is beautiful, but
I'm not gonna say no names, man. But like, one time I was in a situation where I was so disappointed because I read this book, and this dude was so fucking funny. I was like, oh my, like crying, laughing, reading this book, and it's like, oh, he's gonna be here today. I was like, oh shit, it's gonna be fucking. But he didn't have the gift of gab. He had the gift of writing.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's a different.
This interview would be awesome if you could like maybe type out a page and then come back in 10 minutes and then say the answer to this question. But like right now, I just want to fucking jump out the studio, and go to commercial and never come back and just pretend to like, this is not selling your book. This is 100% getting your book returned. No one's believing me when I'm like, no, this guy's fucking hilarious. You guys got to read the book. Okay, you know what? Shut up. Let me read your book. Okay, but yeah, it is the worst. How'd you grow up? Like, were you into theater? Were you into sports? Like, how'd you grow up and get into this lane of entertainment?
I was into everything. I was a social butterfly, but I was both a jock and a theater kid. I went from lacrosse practice to play rehearsal. I did the morning announcements. I was student government.
That's very rare.
I was ski club president, student government president. I made it my business to know everybody. I never missed a day of school. I did the morning announcements like my junior and senior year. I hosted the talent show my junior and senior year. It was a graduating class, like 500, upstate New York, outside Syracuse, a pretty rural area, almost entirely white, Christian. So very homogenous and very country. And I grew up that way. My dad grew up in the city of Syracuse. My mom was a public school teacher in the city of Syracuse. But there's 2 types of people who become comedians, my theory, if I want to be so binary. Those who didn't get enough hugs and seek it out, and those who had too many hugs and seek constant love. I had constant love in my home growing up, and I wouldn't change that or trade that for the world. Maybe makes it harder to establish resilience when you struggle when you're older, I've found. But my parents are still alive and still love me and are still super proud of me. And so I think I've always kind of sought that out. But that's who I was.
It is weird having good parents. It is. I didn't think it would be weird, but the older I get, the weirder that I see it is. Because there's so many people that are just like, oh man, my parents fucking suck, right? Don't they all suck? They're just the goddamn worst. Thanksgiving, shit, I gotta fucking see these motherfuckers again. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna say anything because it's just gonna feel like I'm either rubbing it in or trying to be contrarian. this is not when we were growing up and there were movies about this. It was supposed to be like a cool time, but it is cool for me. But I'm sorry, it's not cool for you. But you're right. A lot of funny people. I feel like it's all like a coping mechanism or trauma response or whatever. I think a lot of my humor comes from when my parents would argue. I would kind of be this weird mediator between them. And I think that's like how it's like, but if we're all laughing, nobody's mad,
It's always interesting to you're dancing in the corner trying to distract. I did that too. My brother, my dad had some issues, but more than anything else, and I think the answer to your question, I didn't quite like why humor. I was tiny. I was a little feller. I was the smallest person in my class for sure, and almost every year, including high school when it really mattered, especially to boys, junior high and high school. I went through puberty late and lost my hair early, which was a bit in my act for years.
Oh no!
And thank you for the right response. Yeah, it's brutal. Brutal. What kind of a god would do that? But so I was small, and so being small, and wanting people to like me, and also just as a protection mechanism as a boy to not be bullied by other boys. If they bullied me, they could beat me in a fight, and I got beat up plenty, but they were more likely to want to be friends with me than to suffer my verbal, because I would take them down. And also my brother was bullied. My older brother was bullied, and I watched that happen. It's very much a part of who I am today and why I'm very much into righteousness and justice and equal rights and human rights and civil rights. I mean, because it started with my brother being bullied, and he was also got radicalized by Noam Chomsky and made me like an anti-racist, anti-sexist when I was younger. I'm still racist and sexist, don't get me wrong, but I understand the idea, and I'm trying not to be all the time, especially against Malaysians. I don't know if you met any Dominicans either. Those two.
I don't know many, but I mean, I can be talking to being racist against people I don't know. I think that's the easiest way. Is if you know them, it's harder to be racist.
It is.
I disagree. I lived in a Dominican neighborhood, and I didn't know anything about them. And then I learned not all I needed, and I was out of there because the music was horrible.
Oh, you can't. Is it that you can't dance, Pete? Is that what we're gonna find out?
Let us know you got 2 left feet.
Is the Dominican music too? Is it too much for you?
I'll have you know. If there's a dance floor, I'll have everybody in a circle around me, which is another early aspect of me as a performer. Roller skating parties, we break dance in the middle of the gym. The whole entire class was watching me breakdance. I made it my business for everybody to know who I was. I was the center of attention whenever I could be. And I used that, like I say, skill set to punch up. So when the bullies were in my age and younger, bullying kids who were nonconformist, artists, whatever, I would crush those kids. And they were my friends already. So I just had it recently. I'm still very good friends with a lot of my buddies from high school, and one of the biggest, meanest jocks, he said I was mean to him in high school. I go, well, you probably deserved it. You would probably be mean to me or somebody else, marginalizing somebody else. And he goes, you don't understand. I go, what? His guy's still like 6'5", good-looking guy, very successful. And he goes, you called me disproportionate body boy. I go,
he remembered that.
Robert, you sketched that on that man's heart.
As soon as he said that, I just started dying laughing because it was my joke. I was like, look at you.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. You got to give it up.
That's hilarious. And for me, and sometimes I think about me and Roger. Roger actually helped me get into comedy. I feel bad for Roger because I grew up in a non-funny household. Like literally everything was serious. Everything was taken to heart, like all that stuff. So when Roger first started dating me, he actually had to be like, hey, calm down. It's a joke. Like he actually had to do that several times before I was like, oh, you're not serious. He was like,
I think one of the I still live by this. I still live by this. Comedy only really works in safety when you feel safe. I'm not saying you are safe because I don't think anything's safe in comedy. You just one fucking thing and you're like, God damn, fuck that one up. But the idea of we're collaborating, you're in a place where the intentions are good and we're having it's hard to build that with people, but once you build it, I mean, it's basically it's sacred, you know, like, and I think
speak to the different cultures of comedy, and I would talk about three in particular, like kind of white boy comedy, like where I grew up, Jewish comedy, and black comedy. We could do gender, but I don't think it really changes any of these things because I think it's more about the culture. And I could speak to each of what my opinion of each of those genres is, but I'll just say this. I grew up in my culture, the homogenous culture that I grew up in the 80s and 90s in upstate New York. Like I said, white, mostly Christian, very little diversity. And I was exposed to more diversity because my mom was a public school teacher and cousins who were mixed race and a couple of other experiences my parents luckily put me into, but mostly, pretty homogenous. So I grew up with that humor, which was still within itself diverse. My 6 of my closest friends were all funnier than me. Funny guys, really funny guys. Then there was another tier of guys who were also funny, but not as funny as us. And then there was the other guys that tried to be, but they weren't. Then I went to college and that's when I knew I wanted to be a comedian. So I became a student of comedy. And in college, I met a lot of gay people, a lot of Jewish people, a lot of Hispanic people, but I gravitated towards black people. And it was because of humor. And I could talk about that experience. I kind of want to write a book about it, but I would want to write it with them, those guys who I'm still friends with. And they taught me a whole different brand of comedy that I could speak to. And then when I moved to New York and lived in the Upper West Side and was around a lot of comedians, so many more Jewish comedians that were very influential, gay comedians, different women for sure. But that's something I think I always was curious about, what made people laugh. And obviously culturally, there are similar experiences. Nobody's monolithic, blah, blah, blah. But let's be honest, like, we have jokes about hunting deer, and it's mostly a white person thing. Well, what about my black friend who hunts deer? All right, he can laugh too, but he's still not about it.
Right. This is not gonna kill in this black room, and you know it.
Yeah, it's like you had.
And I wanted, like I said earlier, I wanted to make every audience laugh. And the best comics, to me, the best white comics, there kind of was like black comics and white comics.
Right.
I mean, like the black and on the pantheon of the best, it's mostly black comics.
Right.
It's George Carlin and a couple of others, whatever. But I thought watching Bill Burr and I came up together, and watching Bill and a couple of other white comics who name you probably don't know, but everybody knows Bill. He worked those black rooms. And I was like, I want to work those black rooms. And because of my college experience, and like those guys brought me up. And then once I did, it was the greatest achievement. It felt the greatest just because I'm white and they're all black. And I think everybody knows what that's like to some extent.
And there's a bump to get over when you walk in that room.
Because people will fold their arms, look at you, and it's different. It's like, make me laugh.
But as with all things too, there's also the curve the other way, right? There's like the bounce that you get off of it, because it's like white people being good at anything that black people feel like we're the best at, right? If you can dance, there's an extra level, like, the white boy can dance. You know, if you can play basketball, it's like an extra level, like, hey, dude, he can actually play basketball.
There's always a make me laugh posture for any audience, but black people have the righteous like opinion of like, why would I laugh at you?
Yeah.
And so it's also true for black comics too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's certainly true if a white comic walks in front of a black room, but if a black comic, black people are just as afraid to perform in front of black. Everybody knows what happens when you bomb in front of a black audience. It happens quick.
It's the worst,
and it hurts real bad.
It's the worst.
White audiences are far less verbal, more patient. But the truth, you just said, the bounce. If you're a white person or a black person, but if you're any comic, but especially if you're a white guy, I'll say it seems a little better to make other people who aren't your quote people who don't look like you, haven't lived your experience, to go and kill in front of a black room, which I did a lot in the late 90s and early aughts. There is nothing better. The people are running around.
It's the best.
Yeah, we have the expression.
Physically react. Kicking legs,
the
kind of like physical jubilation that you get from a Black audience is so wonderful, and
it's only you can only get that from stand up and sleight of hand magic. Those are the only two times I've seen it.
Now we love sleight of hand magic because
it's not even like on purpose.
No.
Remember we went to that fucking bowling alley thing, and that dude came over and started doing sleight of hand magic in front of us and some weird shit with the phone. Man, it took everything for me not to get up and run. I was like holding on my seat, like,
how about this?
Clap at him.
2 more. I'll give you 2 more. I can't attest to it, but do you think Black folks will watch a hilarious TikTok video where someone slips and falls or gets scared and run around? I think they'll laugh that hard at that. I also think Black people, not all Black people, but a lot of Black people will laugh at Black people beating up white people with chairs.
That was good. That was a good one. That was a great day. Like, we don't have enough of those, to be honest.
We do not.
Like we should make that an annual tradition. You know, find some allies that are willing to reenactment, like Civil War reenactments, but it's just a chair at the dock.
Never forget.
Yeah. Like we're both like, hey, we get some cool white people to line up. We won't beat you too hard. You know, it's just like the Civil War. There's no gun. There's no real bullets in the musket.
Why did you name the boat SS folding chair? Because that's boat. It was not, sir. But that's what we gonna name it today.
I love it. We should have a whole alternate history, man.
The first time you watch it, like, damn, and the second time you watch it, you were dying.
Yes. Yeah. That is another thing too, because I feel like, you know, the gallows humor of like having to go through like oppression for any group, right? Not just Black people, any group. Like
that's why I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of truth to why the Jewish community and the Black community are so funny. And obviously art comes out of not always out of suffering, but a lot of times out of suffering, obviously. And a lot of the best art. I used to think I'm never going to be a great comedian because I had a lot of privilege and I had a good childhood. And I was always like, I always felt like I'm a good comedian, but I'm not a great comedian because I wasn't molested. But, you know, I watched Jimmy Norton go up and talk about being molested and everybody's like dying laughing, or suicide, or I'm just like all the worst, you know. But I think that, human suffering is where a lot of times the lotus flower grows out of the mud, and so do the jokes. And people have studied that pretty well. But it's also like through solidarity too. And, you know, that's like hanging out with all those Black guys in college. Like they taught me a kind of humor and a brand and almost a way to laugh, a way to react, facial expressions, noises, you name it. And I never wanted to appropriate, but I'm sure I did. And I'm sure I do a little bit. I laughed.
But I think so appropriation has gotten like a weird rep because
yes, it has.
I think some stuff isn't appropriation. It's like cross-cultural.
I agree with you. I mean, like, I didn't want to appear to be like
you don't want to be like a cultural archivist or like Indiana Jones of comedy. Like you just show up and be like, so what y'all think is funny? And you're just writing in this corner with a notepad.
I just didn't want to take it from them and wear it if it wasn't mine. You know, like one of the things that's great is that I was this kind of. I wasn't myself such a redneck. I was in between, kind of like but the way I dressed versus the way that all the Black guys dressed in 93 to 95 when I was in college. Those guys all had a very similar fashion with their clothes. Like, I don't have to explain it to you or anybody. I was more filthy, tight, all the thing. All my hats were all beat up. And like that gave them jokes every day. But it also, the rules were very quickly established. And that's why I was let in. That's why, you know, I lived with them. They were my roommates and I ate with them every day. And because I knew the rules, just like I always
think a big part of that too is
I went after them hard.
Yeah, I think a big part of that too is like there's this thing that happens where like some of my favorite white people are just regular white people. I don't like it's like how Eminem is respected in rap because Eminem never really tried to be Black.
Right, exactly.
Eminem is just rapping about like I fucking hate my mom and I'm on these pills and you're like, I don't even relate to this, but I appreciate you staying in your lane and you are fucking very skilled.
And my thing is he was authentic to himself and that's kind of all that matters.
Yeah, and like when there would be a rap battle or a beef or this, Black people would diss Eminem sometimes and he'd come back hard, but you respected it because he wasn't like trying to come at it from a lane of like, I'm a better black person than you, which can often be the like death knell. Like that's the thing that'll kill everything. Is when I remember once back when I used to have white friends, this one dude told me, he was like, hey, Rod, you know what, man, I'm blacker than you. And I was like, how so? And he was like, I've been to jail. I was like, you stupid motherfucker. I'm gonna slap the shit out of you. What are you talking about? He's like, I probably have sex with more black women than you. I was like, what is this? What does that mean? What does that mean? Like, let's talk about it. And I just made it get very like, I could have bailed him out like, but instead I just got very serious at the table. And so it just got real quiet and everybody's leaning forward waiting for the answer. Like, yeah, Ben, what does it mean to go to jail and have sex makes you more black? And he's like, oh, never mind. I was just joking. But if you just kind of stay more in your lane, like there's a level of respect that comes and a level of acceptance that comes. That's why I say it's not really appropriation. It's like cross-cultural exchange.
Exactly all that. And if you be real, you will be respected. And so when it came to me hanging out, it was not only a lot of black men, it was a lot of black women. As a matter of fact, I just got together with 5 black women that I went to college with and just me at a house in Martha's Vineyard for a weekend. And it was like one of the most, we reconnected in a way, but the humor was back right away. And to the point, like I was always just me. And I think what was different from me with humor when I was with all those black folks in the 90s was I was less inhibited than them, the men especially. I was a silly goose. And the best thing you could hear for me, the nicest comment was, Pete, you so stupid. The girl, the women said that.
That's a compliment. Yeah.
It was always a compliment. It was an acceptance. And, you know, but I never, you know, you talk about the guy that says he's blacker than you. Like I did anti-racist jokes with them, or I asked them ignorant questions to set them up for a joke. Like one time we were like walking back from the cafeteria, dorms, 9 of us. And I finally just go, and there's always like always an alpha. And he was my closest friend and biggest guy. And my dad told me to make friends with the biggest guy in school, and that always worked. And I said to him, I go, hey, his name is Taekwon. I go, hey man, why do black people walk so slow? Why are we walking so slow? It's cold. It's cold. And he just stopped. Like it should be in a movie. This scene should be in a movie. He just stopped, and everybody stopped. And he just looked at me and he goes, why do white people walk so fast? And it was always stuff like that. At one time, like about your friend saying, I'm blacker than you. I was in jail. Like I made like anti-racist jokes. I don't know where this came from, but I remember going to him, you are black and I am white. You'll be blamed for a crime I commit tonight. And like we were doing stuff like that. And they were just always taking shots at each other in the most brutal ways. And it was it was like an internship. It was like a cultural experience you could never design. But I give myself credit for diving into people who weren't like me. Always the case, the gay community, Jewish community. I've always been more interested in them than the people I came from. To a certain extent, you're not as interested in the people you come from. And to another extent, white people are, they can be boring. And
yeah. Well, they're kind of default, right? Salt and pepper to taste. They're the, you know, it's like who does, even for us, right? We have to know white culture to move in and out of America.
Right.
So it's like more of a survival skill. Like, yeah, you gotta know, you know, like you'll see this often with certain people. Like people be like, you know, the secret to such and such. You're like, what? I know how to talk to these white people. It's just like, hey man, it's a valuable skill, but you know, it's not necessarily something a white person has to have in other areas unless they decide to go into those areas. Like you, like if you just decide I'm staying in my pond, I'm never leaving, I can be a mainstream success without ever really trying to explore other areas. But once again, once you step out of those areas, it does behoove you to know how to talk to other people.
Well, I think
you better stay where you were.
The simplest way to illustrate what you just said is you could do a segment as guests on my show where I take callers and say, ask black people a question. And white people would call in and ask all kinds of fun, ignorant, maybe racist questions. But you would never be me on your show and be like, black people ask white people a question because you already know the answer better than we do. You know the answer better than we do about us. If you were like, do white people wash their legs? I'd be like, I don't know if I don't. And you'd be like, no.
Yeah, the answer is no. You missed it. Just because you wash your legs, it doesn't mean shit.
You know what I mean? Like, black people have to know. If you're we're not supposed to use the word minority, I'm told anymore. But if you're the minority in a room, you need to be able to protect yourself. So you need to know who's in the room and what they might do. Women know more about men. Black people know more about white people to protect themselves from generations of predation. I mean, I don't think that's breaking any new ground. I don't think that's a genius thing. But I think it's why you would never be like, I don't know about these white people. I just don't understand white people. No.
But white people are also mean to white people in a way that's so weird. Like, as a white dude, I'm sure you've experienced this or at least seen it. But it's like the dude that gets drunk around the homies and they're just like, fold him up, throw him in the fridge or whatever. Fucking
drop a dick on his face.
Like, back when I had white friends, I remember one time they sent me a picture on my phone of one of the homies, and he was butt ass naked, folded up, sat into a sink, and drawn on, and they sent it to me like, ha ha, and I was like, is he okay? Where's he at? Do we need to go get him? And they're like, no, it's fucking funny. I was like, who did this to him? And they're like, we did. I was like, fuck y'all.
Right, that's not funny.
My friend got drunk. He had a bad issue with the alcohol, and he would drink and he would pass out. We did a lot of camping and drinking. And so we stood him up against a tree and we duct taped him to the tree. And then, of course, the obligatory white guy thing, we drew a dick in his face. Because that's kind of, and then we took a picture of it.
Yeah. Is that a culture? I've never understood that.
Why do you do this?
I'm like, that's supposed to be cool.
This is what happens when you don't have apex predators. You just start doing weird shit to each other because you're like, we're enforcing our own rules. We're like polar bears.
I would say that black humor, the jokes. I had a fun argument with Van Nathan. You know who he is? There's a Lathan.
Very Lathan, yeah.
Lathan about this. I said black comedy is meaner than white comedy, but
it is
like much meaner.
He disagrees with me. But what you're saying is like, why do white guys do that to each other? It's a white guy thing more, but it's a white thing, pranks and stuff like that. And I don't know if this is along those lines, but all I'll say about black culture or black people is they don't like that very much. And to a certain extent, let's get to specifically eating and food. So there we were. I'm 18, sitting next to this guy, grew up in the Bronx around almost entirely black people. And I reached onto his tray to take some of his food, to take a French fry. And do you know what he did?
Slapped your hand away?
Worse.
What?
Punch you in
your face?
Not as bad.
Spit in the food? What'd he do?
He stabbed my hand with his fork.
Okay. That's okay. That'll teach
food. I will say this. Then all those black guys did have a prank that wouldn't work on white people because we wouldn't care. But the prank was this: when you got your food, usually your dessert at the cafeteria in the dorm at college, you'd sit down, a piece of cake. One guy would jam his finger into the cake, and then the guy couldn't eat it because his finger was in it. That would not happen to a white guy. If you jammed your finger into my cake, I would be like, I would just be like, eat it. I would still eat it.
Well, I think the thing with white comedy and meanness, I feel like white comedy is mean to people who aren't in the room. I feel like black comedy, everybody in the room is on the menu. Like that, and that's the rule. That's the deal. Like, we can fuck everybody up in here. Like, the amount of times you watch like either Def Comedy Jam or you go to a comedy club and you just realize, oh shit, I'm on the menu. Like these, like they're looking around the room like, hey, look at this motherfucker. You're like, God damn, I did not want to be part of this.
Oh, the greatest coming up with, I mean, the great, talking about in college, I mean, that's where I learned that. But then sitting at the table at the Comedy Cellar with Patrice O'Neill and Keith Robinson, and I mean, I could just name every black comedian you know. I mean, when Kevin Hart started, Kevin Hart used to come up from Philadelphia with Big J. Okerson, and he'd come in the comedy club. Everybody knew he's funny and stuff, but he was obvious, as you know, he's tiny. He would get roasted by Patrice, who's huge, and so many other everybody, and we all would. And it was just it was always a firing squad. And, you know,
Right.
whatever your insecurity was, that's what they were coming for. If your nostril, like, I remember college, this tall black guy couldn't dunk. I thought he was going to kill himself with the insults, but they were funny.
Yeah. Racism, we love it, guys. It's
Right?
the best. It's giving us so much. Now, what about with politics and comedy? Because I feel like there's definitely been a tightening of the like political, like what can we laugh at? What are we doing here? Like, don't, you know, over the years. And I think a lot of that's because of the advent of social media. I always say bloggers and stand-up comedians were like the worst fucking Venn diagram to ever meet, because it's like two myopic people that are like, only my point of view is valid, and then they're both just shitting on each other, and it just, I feel like that just bloomed into the entire internet now, and that's kind of like a lot of the culture. It's definitely not that way in the room, right? So like, you go to a stand-up comedy special or just whatever, just stand-up comedy in your area, it doesn't feel like that. It's not quite like that. But a lot of the way we consume comedy now is not in the room anymore. It's for everyone outside the room. So like, going into politics after coming out of comedy, did you feel that tightening? Do you feel it loosening it back? Is like, how does it feel to you now?
Such a really important question and conversation to have. But I mean, I generally have always felt like a lot of that has been overblown. I feel like the main primary rule of comedy is still the truth, which is don't punch down. The greats didn't really do that. You know, George Carlin didn't go after vulnerable communities. You know, Richard Pryor didn't go after your own people. You can say you can punch down to a certain extent, make a funny joke, but like, you know, targeting today, like there's so many comedians like going after trans people. It's so like, I find that so uninteresting and almost always not funny. Right. Because if you just knew anything about the trans community, you know, like a lot of them are really, really struggling and suicidal, the suicide rates. It's like, why would you go after a community who, you know, like has a lot of suicidal ideation, or going after like the gay community and making gay jokes? Like when I started as a comedian, I didn't even like to put like my then girlfriend and then wife down. I never punched down at her. My jokes were about me being like my shortcomings in the marriage. Poor her, she has to deal with me, because I just felt like that kind of overt sexism of male comedians talking about their wives, I just felt like that was over. And so I just never was really impressed with that. So I think like that whole idea of punching down and punching up, I still feel like that should be the rule. There are exceptions. Right. Sexism and racism can be funny. The Holocaust can be funny. Cancer can be, anything can be funny if it's done the right way by the right person, the right tone, the right tone. But I think that you need to know who you are and who you're talking to and who your audience is. Right. And not all comedy obviously has a political bent. A lot of it doesn't. You know, a third of George Carlin's act was fart jokes and observational humor and jokes on language, brilliant jokes on language. And then a lot of the other stuff was social and cultural and political. But it depends on who you are and how you fashion yourself. But it has really interestingly changed in terms of like from liberal to conservative, the left to the right in the spectrum, in terms of what we laugh at, what we're allowed to laugh at. Right. And I think the one thing that is so often we believe narratives because they seem to fit. But like the idea that liberals are more sensitive is probably true in a lot of ways, at least in that we care about strangers. But
it's like when Rob Reiner died and people were like, I didn't agree with his politics, but and I'm like, his politics of inclusion, diversity, care, empathy, you should kind of be a little bit ashamed to say that part out loud. You should just go straight to the like, man, it's sad that he's dead. You should just skip that part about, I didn't like that he was like such a nice guy and wanted everyone to have equality. That was kind of crazy.
I just think that the difference between, it's ridiculous. The difference between like a liberal and conservative comedian to a certain extent or person when it comes to comedy, it's like they can't laugh at themselves.
No, they can't. And a lot of them don't have a sense of humor. They're like
Trumper, like I had a Trumper come on, some MAGA guy in the live chat. I was doing I think it was with J-L, and some guy in the comments said some nonsense, but then he said some stupid MAGA nonsense. But then he called me. He said I look like a baby hamster. And I was like, it's funny.
Yeah.
I do think that about myself. I do think that's funny. I can laugh at that joke, which is a direct insult to how I look. And I think it's funny. So you can definitely make fun of my beliefs. You can make fun of all kinds of things about me. And I'm able to laugh at myself because A, I'm confident, and B, I don't take myself so serious. But those guys, they can't laugh at themselves. That's why they're not very funny. There's not very many conservative comedians who are very funny at all.
It's much more like cultural signifying, right? Like it's a lot of the conservative stand-up now is very much like, because we all agree on, and it's a premise that only if you're in like a certain circle of the world would you be like, this premise makes sense. So if you're like, look, man, these trans people are shooting up schools, there's no factual basis for that joke. But if you're in a certain belief system and you're in that room, you're like, we are going with that premise. Now you make the funny joke about trans people shooting up schools, where even though it's not fucking true, and that does suck because it feels like they have taken the universal appeal of what comedy's supposed to do. They just kind of bastardized it. Like it's like I prefer that even if you fail, I prefer you're attempting to make us all laugh. Like I like, hey, it's hard. It's not an easy job, but I understand the attempt when you're like, boom, I said this thing, fuck, it didn't work. As opposed to just, I know this joke is not that funny, but I know it'll work because the people in this room want it to work more than they want it to be funny.
The rules are the rules. Like I said, you can make comedians and satirists and everybody, you know, the rules are anything. So the example that you gave is a tough one to make funny. School shooting, tough to make funny, but I will help you. And everybody who wants to think about making a joke, if you want to make a joke about school shooting, best to make it truest, which is about a white guy. Those are the jokes about school shootings that work. It's why is it always a white guy? Why is it always a white guy? It's always, you know, and that's where the comedy in that subject, there's not a lot of it, but if you want to find it, it's in why is it a white guy? Lots of comedians are doing that joke.
Right. Yeah. It's the people that go, I pick on everybody. And I'm like, not a lot of dead cop comedians out here. Not a lot of motherfuckers making that premise work, huh?
Right.
Yeah. No one picks on everybody.
Not a lot of
you pick on what pays you.
War jokes out here. Come on now. Dead soldiers. What are you doing? No,
you want to leave the room alive, bitch. Don't lie to me.
I like soldiers who don't die.
Yeah. Speaking of which, man, how'd you meet J-L Cauvin, man? How did you meet J-L? We are meeting you through J-L.
Yes.
Which is probably the first positive thing that's happened through us knowing J-L. So like, how did you meet?
Stand-up comedy. I was probably 5, 6, maybe few years more ahead of him. I'd started, meaning like 5 or 10 years, maybe even ahead of him. I think I recognized his talent right away, and I also recognized his character, and we became friends. Like, I like this guy. I think he's funny. He's helpful to me. I'm gonna help him. And also, I think I probably had him open for me at a lot of events, or at least a few, because I recognized A, how funny he was, and B, how smart he was. And for me, I always wanted to give opportunities to all kinds of people. But if I was going to be on the road with somebody, or if I'm going to be doing a gig with somebody, in a car with somebody, I wanted to be with somebody who is, better than me. In general, those are my friends. They're better than me. Their character, their intellect, their humor. I think J-L's better than me in all those ways. And so I probably, I gravitated towards him, and I always just thought he was underrated, still do, and always wanted to promote him. He's always good to come on my show. He always knocks it out of the park then and now. And so I love him. I admire him. I feel bad for him when he's in pain, which is most of the time.
All the time. Oh, yeah. When is he not in pain?
Great question.
Like, Karen always when he comes on here, Karen tries to like fix him. I'm just like, no.
Let him stay. I'm sorry, Dan, I let you stay broken.
He needs the misery in the way that like Michael Jordan made up that people used to talk bad about him. And then later on, we would find out in the documentary, like, that guy never even said that shit to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan fucking made up that guy called him a piece of shit just so he could put 50 points on him. I feel like that's JL. You just got to let him cook. and then eventually life will throw him some curveballs, and we'll get great comedy out of it.
We will,
And that's what I'm in it for.
we will
Okay,
get good comedy. Yes.
though I get excited when I hear something bad happen in New Jersey. I'm like, ooh, a train was late. All right, let me tune into the podcast, see what's going on over there.
Yeah, I mean, when I think he's happiest when he's making people laugh. That's for damn sure. If you've seen him performing live and seen him killing, like he also is happiest to laugh. He's as happy to appreciate your joke as he is to make a joke. He loves humor and comedy, especially when it's good and when it's original. I think he's probably happy when he's around his dogs. He seems to really like his girlfriend. He has moments of joy. I wish for him and for all of us to, have more moments of joy. But I think it's important to recognize that life is filled with suffering. It's mostly suffering, a lot of it. So when you find the joy, it's awesome and get to it. That's my practice. And it's Buddhism. And that's what I, focus on. I try to spread that to him, but I also, try to get him to leave that Catholic church, but he's the real deal. And that, by the way,
he's all up in it.
I mean, I've seen him and know of a lot of things he does privately that are part of, I think, influenced at least by his faith. I like to think I do similar things and don't have to be a member of an institution that protects pedophiles, but that's just
well, look, some people need they need to fight the system from the inside, I guess, but I prefer to be on the outside.
I like to be part of a church that would allow my daughter to rise to a position of leadership. That's just me.
That would be nice,
Just basic.
Like if we weren't patting the Pope on the back for being like gay people, that's all right. Like what?
Gay people, human.
Yeah, listen, I'm a different type of Pope, okay? I take the money from the gay people. I'll take the money from the straight people. I don't give a fuck. Black people, bring the money. We need 10% of everything. But it is funny that to see him like earnestly running for office, like, cause like on the one hand, I'm like, damn, this dude is so funny and he's such a, but also like he's so used to running up against this brick wall of comedy.
Yes.
That I feel like politics can't be that much harder than ever brick wall than what he's already been doing. I feel like him coming up to people cold turkey to say, sign this petition. How's that different than a bringer show? I think he was built for this.
I think that there's been parts of his career that are obviously really like his impressions have gotten him a lot more attention than his stand-up. And it's only because like he's not for enough people. It's not because he's not funny. It's not because he's not brilliant. It's like there are certain people that always have smaller cult followings because, they don't have the kind of universal appeal. And part of that is because he's so smart. A lot of his jokes are too highbrow for a larger mass audience and appeal, and his style and his demeanor and a lot of those things. But also, and I've always said this, at his heart, he's a public servant. He's always done acts of service as a volunteer, as a student, for all different kinds of communities. And that's what he's doing now, this nonprofit that he's working in to fight homelessness and eviction. And that's why he went to law school. And that's what his family brought him up to be. His, dad was very influential on him. And, I think that this is really suited for him. And I think in this day and age of politics where you need people who can fight and can banter, who can, he's the kind of person you need. You need people who are good performers and who are good fighters and who are smart. He's all those things. And New Jersey's 11th district would be real lucky to have him representing them.
Absolutely.
I think so too.
Like, I definitely agree with the fighter part too, man. I'm really focused on that in 2026 because I'm tired of arguing with people over degrees of difference on the left. It's so fruitless. We're not getting much out of it except eroding the goodwill we have for each other.
Yes.
I think I'm just gonna practice the next year is just when somebody says something and I would have normally been like, well, wouldn't it be better? I'm just gonna be like, I don't know, you gonna vote for the Democrat when it's time to vote? Fuck it. No, cool.
I have gotten short.
I'm tired of arguing about shit that's just not. It's like ultimately it would be a luxury for it to matter, but we need to get in a position to be in a luxury, like to have that luxury of like, no, $17 minimum wage, rather than starting with this motherfucker says $16 minimum wage.
So
I'm I'm staying home. Like we got to figure a way out of that part so we can get to this other part.
I fully agree with that. I would only add along the line, that's like politics. Like I have lost my patience with at least certain people in certain situations, I'll say, around scientific consensus, specifically, obviously climate. I've never had any patience for people's skepticism about the consensus around climate change. But specifically on the vaccines, I was talking to a friend of mine, a guy I hadn't talked to in years, guy I used to be really good friends with, colleagues with, worked in media, did a lot of good things for me, but he also looked up to me and admired me. And so I decided when he said some ignorant nonsense about vaccines, I was just like, he's like, we just had our daughter, we just had a kid. And I was like, oh my God, I hadn't talked to him in years. I was like, congratulations, you're a dad. That's amazing. How old is 1 year old? And what do you think about the vaccines? I was like, what? He's like, I don't think we're not going to do them. We're not going to do them all at once, whatever. So this time, because of who he was in my life and because of what his background does and because of what I know, I go, what are you, fucking stupid? I go, are you a stupid person? And he did this whole, I'm doing my research, I'm being responsible. I'm like, you don't know how to do research. You're in media. You don't do research. Stop doing research. I read a study. You don't know how to read a study, stupid.
Most of us don't.
How the study was conducted? Do you know who conducted it? Do you know if they used a blind randomized control variable? Do you know how many studies there were on that? Have you looked at
none of that means.
of studies? Do you know any of the words that I'm saying? Because I just learned them from a guy who does research, and I don't know shit. You stupid fuck. You're stupid.
Dude, I feel like and it seems like you have it too, but I definitely have this fucking like bit of a Debbie Downer in me. This like hyper vigilance part that I try to keep in check, but it pops out like that because it pops out more if I care about you. Like if I'm at the basketball court and you say some ignorant shit or whatever, it's like, I don't know this motherfucker. But if it's like my brother and he's like, yeah, I'm not getting my kids vaccinated, I'm like, Hulk rage. I can't stop myself from it. And I think that does come from being a nerdy kid that got picked on and all that type of shit too. Like it's still in me to this day. Like there's times. Matter of fact, my friend Justin, one of my best friends, we became cool because we were playing basketball against these guys, and the guy goes to insult Justin. And he called he's some form of like gay. I don't think it was a slur, but it was like the implication is Justin is gay. And we're in the middle of the game and we just stopped the clock. And I was just like, so what would be the problem if he was gay? It's like, man, just check up, man. That's just some, we're like, no, but like, so if he was gay, like what, he wouldn't be as good at basketball or whatever. And everybody's like, take the ball or just fucking play the ball. And I was like, no, but it's serious because, like, why would you do that? And, like, another time there were these two girls that waited all day to play with us. And all the guys, there's like 10 guys, and they're just like, nah, man, we got 10. And I was like, well, the girls have next, right? No, they can't play, man. I was like, they're going to play or no one's going to play.
Right.
And it's like, I part of me is like, life would be fucking easier if that didn't exist in me, but it'd be harder for them, right? It'd be harder for those two girls because they never get to fucking play because the guys are just so fucking selfish. And it was an easy solution. One girl on one team, one girl on the other team. Oh fuck! I just solved the goddamn.
They play each other. What are you doing here?
I just solved for fucking pi. It wasn't even fucking hard to solve, but it's just that unwillingness and selfishness that people have. And yeah, like I said, part of me, I hate that I can't stop it, but part of me, I can't imagine being a person that didn't have it because I look at those people as like cowards.
Yeah.
I love the way that you talked about that quality of yours, and it makes me like you a lot more, admire you a lot more, and probably think that might be why we are connected to a certain extent, because I live by a couple of simple ideas. Be the change you want to see in the world. So if someone is putting someone down, treating someone poorly, what are you doing in that moment? If you want to save the environment, what are you doing about it? Another one is surround yourself with people who fight for you in rooms that you're not in. Like if I'm in a room with all white guys and they say something about black people, or more likely, I guess the best example is in the 19 guys I talked to in a text chain from high school. after Charlie Kirk died, there's a couple Trumpers in there. I hate them and didn't want them invited, but they're in there. But I'm there to confront them. So this guy went off on Charlie Kirk and how good he was, and I was like, wrong place, wrong.
Yeah.
I lit him on fire, and we haven't heard from him since, and I'm proud of that.
Right.
Act like, surround yourself with people who fight for you in the rooms that you're not in. And finally, the one that I think about all the time, I heard this Australian general say it years ago. I was covering this issue in the news. It was they had some horrible incident of sexual harassment, which all militaries have an epidemic of it, men harassing women and other men, generally speaking. But there was some horrible issue. And so this Australian general, in his cool Australian accent, basically he said, the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept. So if someone's over here, making gay jokes and you're just allowing it, or making racist jokes and you're just allowing it, there's a million ways to handle it. I know it's uncomfortable,
right?
But I know that if my Jewish friends, if my gay friend, my black friend or loved one knew that I stood by and allowed that, they would be disappointed and ashamed of me. And I personally can't live with their disrespect. So I've been that way pretty much my whole life, and it has made me a lot more friends than it's lost me. It's gained me a lot more respect than it's lost me, and it's my favorite quality about me. And
in some ways, like in a way, it's not even really about the other. It's about me. I'll just in a way, it is about me. Where I'm just like, I'm not gonna be in a place where this shit is where and I don't know if you found this too, but all this talk like alpha male this, all this shit, men are so fucking easy to just be like, nah, we're not doing that. And the vast majority of the time they're just like, oh yeah, okay, I see what you mean. It's not always a fight. Like the way I lost my white friends was when Trump was running. I remember he was saying the first time, he's like, Mexicans are rapists and shit. And I was like, this guy's a fucking racist. What the fuck? You can't vote for this shit. And it's like, well, I'm most about the economy. I was like, fuck you and fuck that. Yeah. Don't you vote for this dude. We won't be hanging out anymore. And one of them got a little chippy and was like, what do you know? You just have a podcast and all this shit. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And I was like, oh, okay, my little podcast. Okay, cool. So I was like, I'm gonna read this email on our little podcast that no one listens to, that you don't respect. And the way this man got scared, I didn't say his name or anything. He was just like, man, take it down. I was like, no, I'm just gonna post screenshots without your name in it. Just
it don't mean
and I'm just gonna say on my little platform, hey, this is what the fuck white people are talking about with Trump and the excuses they're making for his racism and bigotry. And that was when the other white friends popped up to be like, hey man, you maybe take it down, man, or whatever. And I was like, fuck everybody.
Right.
And that's how I lost him, because I was like, I'm not gonna be in an environment where him saying that to me, y'all didn't say shit. Right? When I was like, hey man, this guy's racist and I thought you guys weren't, y'all were like crickets, like Rod will handle it. But then when I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna put you on blast, they're like, whoa, now let's not go too far. And I think, I'd rather be like this than to be like that.
I think one of the major issues that we've seen lost as a result specifically of Trump and the genre and the movement, that there's a loss of shame.
Yes.
You can say anything you want to anyone you want. And so I'm always for putting someone on blast. Oh, if that doesn't matter, I love these videos when someone just says some horrible stuff and people tape it and, they have their lives, destroyed. I wouldn't wish that on somebody, but it's important that the rest of us who see that be like, I should keep some things to myself. I don't need to be out here. Shame is a really, really important thing. I mean, I try to change, and I could tell you, we all should be able to have a lot of stories where we stood up and did the right thing. It's like, like when a woman's being catcalled in the street one time in New York City, this, guy's leaning out of his truck. He's like, hey, mommy, hey, poppy, why don't you come over here to poppy? Let me get some of that, whatever. And the woman's like looking at him, keeps walking. I just walk up to him, lean up to his truck. I was like, hey, poppy.
Yeah.
Why
And
don't you
it don't
come
feel
down?
good, do it, when it's unwanted.
Yeah, one time I was at the court and my boy MT saw some chick walking up.
Let me finish. I ended up sucking that guy's
Oh.
dick, which was super
Oh,
weird.
of course, yeah, no. I assumed that. That's why I didn't cut you off because I was like, you don't even need to tell her. I know how this goes.
I hope you charged a fair price for your services.
Yeah.
Don't do it for free now.
Yeah, the games have been sold, not told.
That's the truth.
Okay. But I remember my friend MT, there was some girl walking up on the track when we were playing ball, and she was attractive, but he was like, hey girl, or whatever. MT's white, by the way. But he's like, hey girl, hey. And I was like, are you doing that to impress me? Like, she can barely hear you, and she's definitely not gonna be like, oh my God, I need to run downstairs and give this guy some pussy. What if you're clearly just doing this so that I know that you think that girl's attractive? I can see from down here, motherfucker. Now you just got us looking corny, and I just kept calling them corny. But like a lot, like I said, it's so funny. People get so like worried about not fitting in.
You know, the ultimate,
whatever, since we were like kids, and it is so funny how you flip the power like that, and almost every time it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm much cooler than that. I actually could have walked up there and got her number because I'm a real cool guy like that. I'm like, yeah, you were corny, and don't let me catch you being corny in front of me again.
Well, it's sexist, and like we're all sexist, and we need to recognize it and see it for what it is and try to be better. And the best example of that behavior you just mentioned, the best national example, was Billy Bush on the Access Hollywood tape. And Hot Mike catches then celebrity Trump saying, you're famous, you can grab him by the pussy, and Billy Bush just laughs and doesn't say anything, and then the world finds that out later. Well, I was on Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO, and Billy Bush was on that episode, and I highly recommend you go watch the clip, because Billy Bush still didn't seem contrite, even though Bill Maher brought him back to like do a rehabilitation tour, you know. Right. And I went after Billy Bush, similarly what I said here about the principles I live by. I said that quote, the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. Maher did not like what I said. So he attacks me, and he's like, oh, Pete, you've always been great with women, and you've never this and that. And I said, no, man, no. I absolutely objectified women in my life. I've absolutely thought about women as vessels to be conquered. I still catch myself doing it and thinking and saying inappropriate things. But I did mature at a certain point. And more importantly, I was never in a group of friends or with a bunch of men that talked about taking sex or joking about assaulting women. What we did, what most guys I know do, locker room talk, was this: I want to fuck that girl. And then your buddy's going, she'll never fuck you. And that was the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. The real locker room talk. Oh man,
the talk I'm not privileged to. Sometimes Roger tell me we don't talk like that.
Yeah, that was actually the most offensive thing about that Trump shit, was when they were like, it's locker room talk. I was like, no, it's not. Well, I don't know what the fuck you guys talk about in the locker room. That is not the locker room talk. Is like, put your old balls away.
If I knew, like, even in my 20s, I don't know how you were raised or how that guy was raised, but in my 20s or my 30s, obviously now, I have daughters, for God's sake. Sometimes people are like, oh, you shouldn't be like a pro-woman feminist type of person just because you have daughters. I'm like, well, I would care more about cerebral palsy if my kid had that. So I have daughters, so I think a lot about women, and I've worked on issues, with women's equity and reproductive rights and domestic violence and all these things. And the bottom line is, like, in my 20s or 30s or now, like, if I knew a man I knew, whether if he was a stranger or even, as we're talking about, much less like I knew, touched a woman, groped a woman, that, like, what would my react? I'd probably slap the shit out of him, but I would certainly say something, and it would be horrible. I don't know if I would still, like, who's doing that? Don't tell me.
And it's definitely not the homie. Like, he's definitely also not the guy that's like you're kicking it with. Like, he comes back and he's like, dude, I just grabbed so many pussies, and you're like, whoa.
I will out my friend. This summer I was at a birthday party for my buddy's 50th, so we're all 50. And my friend's 80-year-old mom was there, and he gets so drunk that he put his arm around her in what I thought was not an appropriate way. But she didn't care, I don't think, because he's so small and non-threatening and so drunk. But it is weird that he put his arm around an 80-year-old, our friend's mom. Like, he basically was making a pass as a 50-year-old at our friend's 80-year-old mom. I was like, I grabbed him and pulled him out of that situation, but still, like, what are you doing? She's 80, bro.
Mama gotta have a life too,
right?
man.
Trying to find him a sugar mama.
Was she upset with you? Was she like, dude, I almost got some fucking action. What are you doing? I've been working this 50-year-old dude all goddamn night.
I've been working this room.
I end up hooking up with her. But listen, that's neither here nor there.
Like a gentleman.
Yes.
Okay.
I was sober. Consent was like, it wasn't weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Listen, I hear what's going on in these old folks' home communities, man. They spreading this STDs around, bro. They know what's up. They like, we ain't got much longer to live. So like, what's living 6 more months with the clap? You know what I'm saying? Like, why am I even stressing that right now? Oh, I caught syphilis. Oh no, not me at 90.
I mean, I like to think that at that point in my life, I'll have so few shits to care about and so much less time to live that I would sign up to live in a nursing home called the Clap.
Yes. Honestly, I think that's when you let loose with the drugs.
Where are you living at? Oh, I'm up at the
I'm up at the Clap community home. Shady Acres, the Clap division.
Everybody has it.
Pete, man, this has been so fun, man. You have to come back another time. We'll do less of an interview thing and we'll do some pop culture.
And we do some games.
Yeah, we'll play some games. We'll ask you about white people because we don't know that much about white people. And we have a lot of news about white people. We have
a segment called White People News.
And we're just always hopeful that maybe the white people we have as guests might know who these people are.
One.
Okay, let's do one. Zachary Ty Bryan could face full prison sentence.
Yeah.
You know who that is, Karen?
Actor. I have no idea.
Karen's going with actor. Pete, do you know who Zachary Ty Bryan is?
Yeah, he was on the show Home Improvement. That's right.
It's a fucking magic trick. I'm going to get up.
He's running around. Yeah, Zachary Ty Bryan is a pretty white name. We did... What is a white name that you would never find in a black man? Can you do that off the top of your head? That's not super ethnic. Did we freeze? Frozen. Look at Rod froze like that. Am I frozen also? Oh, he's dead. And now it's just Karen and I, but I can't hear anybody. I love it. That's great. I think he got up to run around laughing at the joke, and then he knocked himself right off the internet. That's how good it was. Rod will be right back, everybody.
It was so good. It was a magic trick. I dropped my picture. I dropped my picture off the wall. I ran away because that sleight of hand that he just did was a magic trick to me, guys. That was amazing. I don't know who the fuck Zachary Bryan, Ty Bryan. He has 3 first names. I have no idea. Those are 3 white first names, unless it's Tyrone. I would have never known.
I just read a news story. I got one for you guys. Do you know in the news right now? There's a controversial story about someone. Do you know who Ian Ziering is? Ian Ziering.
Yeah, he's got to be an actor. I know.
Or a musician.
I know this.
You know I don't.
God. 90210.
That's right. Steve Sanders, 90210. Here's what we've got for you, Rod. Since you won, we do have, very excited, small sandpaper block. It's great.
Yes.
Your nails.
I've never, for a record, never watched that show. Not a one episode.
I loved that show when I was younger.
Oh man, yeah,
it was my Friends because I never saw Friends.
I have such huge cultural holes in my life in the 90s because I went through like the 90s Spike Lee, Malcolm X hat days where I would just be like, "That's white people shit," and then I just wouldn't watch it.
I never saw Friends. I never saw Seinfeld.
And then I remember I got a TV in my room with me and my little brother, and it couldn't get cable; it could only get the like regular over the air channels. And so every day I would watch Seinfeld. I was like, this is the fucking funniest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Interesting. The opposite, like growing up white in the 80s and 90s and the access you had, like the references I had to black people and black culture were mostly television, entertainment, music. And I was never a big music person of any genre, but a lot of what I thought about, I used to do this joke in my stand-up act in front of black audiences. A lot about what I thought about black people and black culture was something I learned from, a predominantly black show, which, most of the time did a pretty good job in the 70s and 80s of representing but the show that was most indelible to me, the show that I laughed the hardest at, and I wouldn't say it was like typical of black culture or whatever, because it was mixed, was The Jeffersons.
Yes, I love The Jeffersons.
Jeffersons is a show to this day, and I can still hear my brother. We would what we call screaming laughing at George Jefferson and Florence, what's her name? The actress name. She's still alive, Marla, I think. So. And that show for me was
Marla Gibbs, I think.
Marla Gibbs. And there were a lot of other, predominantly black shows too that I liked. I liked black sitcom and comedy and comedian.
Oh, that's the thing, dude. Black culture is basically American culture, right? Like so much of our cultural export in America has just been like black people shit. Like even stuff that's white people shit now was black people shit then. It was rock and roll, it was jazz.
But TV, I'm speaking out of a lot of ignorance, but I think it's true. TV was overwhelmingly dominated by white actors and white shows, always, to the point where you could talk about the first black on-screen kiss with like Sidney Poitier, or the first black lead, or even the awards. This is more nonsense, but like, so for white people who were at least trying to be open-minded or curious, whether they knew anything or not, but certainly I was curious that way. Like, it was hard. If TV was your thing, music was never my thing. If music was more of a thing, music radicalizes people in all kinds of ways. And I just never got into it. It's my cultural blind spot. But television, and particularly comedy, that was where.
And I guess what I mean to say with that is, like, you would think the Jeffersons would be like a niche show because, but it's like a lot of people love the Jeffersons because it was just dope.
There was a thing, and a lot of comedians have done this joke. But there was also a thing. There's all kinds of things that it did that didn't help white folks.
Right.
It used to be all the jokes that, well, I thought black people didn't this or that. But one of the jokes is that, like, growing up white in America, watching a lot of TV, you might have been vulnerable to the idea that there were a lot of young black boys with that disease where they didn't grow into full men. Because there was only like 9 shows on TV, and one was Emmanuel Lewis and one was Gary Coleman. Like, why was Hollywood casting these cute young black boys? And it was partially because they had the maturity of an older boy and they could play a kid, and they had those funny lines. They were so good at comedy as a result. What you talking about, Willis? But there was also where white people were like, what's wrong with why are those little black boys not growing?
I think
cartoons.
I think Larry Wilmore, in his book, I Wish We Got Casinos, I think he's called those Shetland Negroes.
That's hilarious.
Like
oh God, that's not nice. That is hilarious.
Yeah, that's funny.
I remember reading that chapter, fucking crying, man. Oh my God, Pete, man, this has been fun, dude.
It has.
Tell the people where to find you.
Yes.
And like how to be down with Podjam 3.
Yeah, Podjam April 9th. Check it out. There's a link for people to go buy tickets on my website. Stand Up with Pete. That's my show. Is a daily show. Every day I interview really smart experts, really great, entertaining people. I do a full news recap every day too. It's my whole job, my whole life. My kids are 18 and 21 and don't need me much anymore. I love my work, and so I produce a show every day. It's a lot, but if you want to check it out, subscribe on YouTube and Substack, or listen wherever you get your podcasts. Stand Up with Pete Dominick, and I can't wait to join forces with you guys more throughout the year, and certainly up to April, and connecting our communities as much as we can, hopefully in person at Podjam 3.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it. Never been to Vegas, so we'll see what that's like. I know Pete famously does not like the city, and I've already got listeners that are like, "No, I'm gonna show you the real Vegas or whatever." We'll see, guys. I don't want to end up with my hand in a vice.
The new sphere.
The sphere, yeah, the energy sucking. The sphere. I do want to see the sphere, though. I feel like I'm part of the problem because I'm like, it's already there. I do want to look out the side of a plane and be like, that's a big ass TV.
Yes, that's what I wanted to do.
We came over the hill and we're in the car in Vegas, and my friend Nick, he sees it and he goes, "Is that the sphere?" I was like, "No, you stupid motherfucker. The moon landed. What do you think that is? Of course it's what else could it be? Is that the sphere, you stupid fuck?"
That's amazing. We'll be back throughout the week, everybody. For premium people, we're doing our sports show tomorrow. And we're going to do our nerd off with just me and Karen, where we're going to talk about our favorite nerd things we did this year and give you all our wrapped, like, here's the video game we played the most, you know, all that shit they send you. We're going to do that Thursday. So we do have a busy week for people behind the paywall. And the rest of you guys, we'll see you Saturday. So until next time, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody. Bye, Pete.